Chris Paul is without a doubt a monarch athlete. As we can see here, this is the infamous quote-unquote diamond sign that was popularized by Jay-Z in the mid to late 90s. What is that sign, brothers? The quote-unquote rock symbol. The diamond sign, or the rock symbol, is for the Sirius star, or the dog star. It's for the mother goddess and her son Heru. You understand that? One of the names, or one of the terms for the Sirius star, is the blazing star, or the diamond in the sky, because of its brightness and the fact that it seems to illuminate with every color in the spectrum. It is the rainbow bridge. You cross through that to get to the portal known as Saturn, which of course is representative of the quote-unquote Father God, or Father Time, or the Horned One, so on and so forth. But that's why they throw up that quote-unquote diamond. It's for the Sirius star. Okay? As we can see here, Chris Paul is with Jay-Z, who's a major warlock in the industry. Jay-Z's job is to recruit some of these athletes into the Kabbalistic aspect of the entertainment industry. Most of them enter the NBA already having been prepped in many of the matters of Luciferianism through the fraternity systems that they enter into while in college. And that's not even touching on many of the other concepts that have been broached by them in their childhood by most of their handlers. So by the time they get to the pros, they're prepped for new handlers to pick them up. Starting with some of these famous rappers like Jay-Z and Drake, so on and so forth. That's why they're always hanging around basketball players and football players, because they're handlers. On top of that, most of these top athletes are forwarded to women who are going to become their quote-unquote wives, but who are really their handlers. And we're going to see that with Chris Paul. So now, brothers, as we can see here, Mr. Chris Paul is wearing the quote-unquote leopard print, which is an MK Ultra trigger. It's based in what's known as the quote-unquote sex kitten programming. So he has a quote-unquote sex altar. Most likely he's used for various reasons or various purposes behind closed doors. His wife has on the ruby red. She is his handler. The young daughter is wearing a Nike or a Nikkei shirt for the mother goddess of victory. Just do it. Which also is an Aleister Crowley statement. Do what thou wilt. The young son often is shown, not in this photo of course, but he's often shown having the blonde hair dye in his hair for Hippocrates. He's being put through the paces as well. Now, brothers, this is another very interesting photo that I found. As we can see here, once again, Chris Paul's wife, Jada Paul, is wearing the red dress, but also pay very close attention. She has the leopard print bag, and also her shoes are leopard print as well, if you notice. So she's an asset and a handler as well. Chris Paul, as we can see, has on the Hegelian themes of black and white, the black and white striped shirt, and they seem to be at some type of function because they're walking the quote-unquote red carpet. You understand that? That's why referees, for those of you who don't know, that's why they wear the black and white striped shirts, because they represent the bringing together of opposites. They are the divine judges. They're supposed to be impartial and stand above all. But if need be, they can and will dictate how the event will transpire. Okay, so brothers, now in this photo right here, we're seeing the same themes. Mr. Chris Paul has on the leopard print polo. But let's pay even closer attention to his handler / wife. Let's see what she's wearing to this event. As we can see here, she has on the shirt with the face of a big cat on it, meant to reinforce whatever sex kitten altar Chris Paul is in, while also reinforcing her own. Who knows what happened after this event? They probably went to some orgy somewhere, allegedly. But most likely they had to be triggered to bring forth their sex kitten altars. That's why they were informed to wear this attire. Or why Jada Paul was informed to have Chris dress how he dressed so that they could attend some after party somewhere and freak off in an orgy. Once again, everything that I'm saying is alleged. But as is well known, and as the saying goes, the truth is a lot stranger than fiction. So now, brothers, this was certainly a photograph that I wanted us to scrutinize very closely. When we pay very close attention, we see Miss Gloria Govan, the former quote-unquote reality show star and paramour of Mr. Matt Barnes. Currently, she's with Derek Fisher. It never ceases to amaze me how easy it is for these reality TV show females to link up with basketball players. And the reason why it's so easy is because those relationships are scripted. They have to get together with those people. Most of these basketball players behind closed doors are either homosexual or bisexual, i.e. pansexual. They have ritualistic intercourse with anything, whether it be animals, each other, women, children, etc. That is how they climb to higher levels in Hollywood. I did a series a while ago about Mr. LeBron James, stating that he went out to LA not to be the GOAT, but to serve the GOAT. And it's becoming more and more apparent as we pay very close attention, especially in light of his associations with the removal of Kobe Bean Bryant, another very high-level Luciferian. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Am I saying that LeBron James is the person who sacrificed Kobe? No, I am not. What I'm saying is that LeBron knew about it before it happened, as did Kobe. It was ritualistic. It was alchemical. All of these people are alchemists. They're hermeticists. But let's get back to this photo. We've already talked about Gloria Govan. Look at the tattoo that Chris Paul's wife has on her right shoulder blade. As we can see here, it's a what? It's an inverted pentagram. She's an Eastern Star, which basically is a quote-unquote female Mason. She's a venerator of the GOAT because the inverted pentagram is nothing but the GOAT's head. That's all it is. Here's a close-up. As we can see, that is Miss Jada Paul. Who knows? Might be Mr. Jada Paul. Who knows? With the inverted pentagram on her right shoulder blade. Now, I'm sure that you brothers remember this. This was a major ceremony that occurred within a ceremony. This was the event in which the powers that be bequeathed a certain amount of prestige and power onto these four individuals, all four of them being warlocks. That being LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony. A lot of you brothers out there might be saying, bro, what are you talking about? I'm going to show you in a moment. But as we can see here, they're alternating. Do you notice that? Carmelo Anthony is dressed in all black. CP3 has on the white shirt with the black suit. Dwayne Wade is dressed in all black. And LeBron James has on the white shirt with the black suit. This was coordinated. How they're standing is coordinated. Muhammad Ali was strategically removed in 2016 so that the energy of quote-unquote black consciousness could be funneled through these four and other chosen figures in 2016, including Colin Kaepernick. He was removed so that the energy from his removal could go into them, in the same way that the removal of Kobe Bryant is meant to signify an energy transfer from him to LeBron James. So now, brothers, these are the quote-unquote wives of LeBron James, Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, etc. And I put wives in quotes. These are really the black witches of Eastwick. That's what they are. And to be quite frank with you, out of these three females, I'm not quite sure if the majority of them are even females. I believe that the only legit woman here is LeBron James' wife, Savannah. When you look at CP3's quote-unquote wife, you see no hips whatsoever. zero hips. When you look at Gabriel, aka Gabriel Union, I'm already on record as saying, Gabriel, that's a man, baby. But it's up to you brothers to figure out. Either way, all three of these figures right here are witches, heavily embedded within the craft, and they're going to raise up their children to embrace the craft. These are witchcraft families. Also, if you'll notice, Savannah James has on the all white for the moon goddess. I'm sure people out there are saying, well, the woman can't wear white. Brothers have to understand that when these figures within the entertainment sphere dress, they dress strategically. They're not like regular people. It's not like a regular sister walking down the block with a white dress on. They dress a particular way, especially when they know that they're going to be photographed. They dress that way for a reason. You understand that? And when you look at Chris Paul's quote-unquote wife, Jada Paul, you'll notice that, as usual with these witches, she has her right eye covered. You see that? As usual. And forget Gabriel. Gabriel, that's a hot mess. So now, brothers, this is a very interesting photo that I believe I may have used before with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade basically sandwiching their quote-unquote wives, Savannah James and Gabriel, aka Gabrielle Union. But the devil is always in the details. As I constantly tell you, brothers, both Dwayne Wade and LeBron James are making the hand pose of quote-unquote Masons to show you that they're in the know. Savannah James has her legs crossed and her arms in the X shape. The X is, of course, for the quote-unquote god of death and rebirth, Asar or Osiris. And Gabriel has her mouth covered. Why would you cover your mouth in a photo unless it was strategic? To show you that she's privy to the secret and she'll never tell. I'll be going through a video on that. When you see most of these quote-unquote celebrities with their index finger over their mouth or their hand over their mouth, is to denote that they're privy to the secrets. They've been illuminated and they've been sworn to secrecy. They'll never tell. The quote-unquote secret being that they're workers for the promotion, for the reinvigoration, the celebration of the rites and rituals of the horn god, the mother goddess, and their son, the divine hermaphrodite, or the divine child. That's what it's about. But let's get even greater understanding. These are some things that I can't touch on YouTube. There's a reason why Mr. Shannon Sharpe loves calling LeBron James Old Goat James, because Mr. Shannon Sharpe is also within the craft as well. Hey, brother, you see this? Why would you take a photograph like this? It says here, tune in to Undisputed on Fox Sports 1 tomorrow morning. He's got a lot to say about NBA free agency. This is from Shannon Sharpe. What would this photo have to do with you being on Undisputed and providing your perspective on the sports news of the day? You see how he has his left eye covered, showing you that he is a venerator of Heru/Ra, that he's within the craft. Also, of course, he's holding up the dog, most likely to show his allegiance to the dog star, Sirius or Sirius. But let's go a bit further, because I'm sure that cats out there are saying, bro, you're going too far. Even though you won't be able to explain why someone who's promoting their TV show would take a photo like this with just their right eye showing, holding up their dog. Brothers, just for some context, this is a photo that I used of Carmelo Anthony in the Colin Kaepernick Stay True to 7 series. And he's holding the upside down triangle over his genitalia. Why is that? Because he's a worshiper of the divine feminine, or as he calls it, the quote-unquote universe, or 7, the Shekinah. So behind closed doors, Carmelo Anthony most likely goes both ways. Once again, everything I'm saying is alleged, but I'm just going by what he's showing me. Let's see what Shannon Sharpe did to show his allegiance as well to the craft. Hey, brothers, you see this? This is not a natural pose. He's forming the inverted triangle, once again, over his genitalia. To show you what? Most likely behind closed doors, he worships the divine feminine and the divine hermaphrodite. That's why he showed his right eye 2 photos ago. The right eye is the eye of Heru, or the eye of Ra. But the inverted triangle is for the mother goddess. It's for the earth, or for water per se. So who knows what's going on with Shannon Sharpe behind closed doors. So now, brothers, as we can see here, this is another pictorial of Mr. LeBron James and his witch, i.e. wife, Savannah James, forming the X with both of their arms. Once again, this is a strategic photo. LeBron James, he's someone who's very aware and always shows great scruples in how he allows himself to be depicted. There's a reason why he was not looking at the camera. He was looking at his wife, because his wife is in the know. She's looking at the camera, not him. And they cross their arms on purpose to form the X. It's for the god of transformation. It's alchemical. They're both hermeticists. You understand that? She's in all black to show that she is a witch. She has his hand on his thigh to show that whatever he's doing, she's in concert with. So whatever the processes are, the rituals are, the protocols are, she's in agreement. Because she loves the fame and the riches. They're both in league with one another. But let's go a bit further. Brothers, why do you think he's throwing up this horned hand sign? And his wife is right there looking into the camera. What do you think that really means? What does that represent to you? Is LeBron James a rock and roll star? Look at the look on his face. It's a very cocky look that he has. Very cocky countenance to show, look, I'm down with this. I don't give a shit if you know about it, because most of these people out here are dumb as hell. So every once in a while I could mention the name God or Christ or Jesus or whoever and fool you, because once again, brothers, behind closed doors, they're hermeticists. What does that mean? That means that they believe God is Satan, Christ is Lucifer, and vice versa. Adam is Eve, Eve is Adam. They're bringing together opposites. That's what that means. That's why I constantly reiterate that they worship the quote-unquote divine hermaphrodite. Who is the divine hermaphrodite? It is the Baphomet. That is why the Baphomet is depicted with male and female parts. And the quote-unquote goat head, or the horned head, the horned god. You understand that? So, brothers, this was LeBron James as he was, quote-unquote, heading back to Cleveland from Miami after that little escapade was finished with Pat Riley. And LeBron James showed that he was no longer willing to show his obeisance to one of the chief warlocks down there in Miami, Mr. Pat Riley. He came back to Cleveland to re-ingratiate himself with the Midwest. It was also part of his script. He had to redeem himself. He was the prodigal son. After he redeemed himself and they were able to utilize chicanery to defeat the Golden State Warriors, he was supposed to head out to the West Coast. Head out west, just like Asar or Osiris. Head out west to finish that portion of his life. Once he's done with the Lakers, he's going to experience a proverbial death and a rebirth. Most likely in the entertainment industry, in the movie world, in the cinematic world, or in some way, shape, or form, because they're going to play out a continual ritual with LeBron James. He was meant to replace Kobe Bean Bryant. As we can see here, he's dressed in the all black for Saturn, and the entire cover of this Sports Illustrated is in the all black for Saturn. And as we can see here, this is in the year 2012 when he was named the quote-unquote Sportsman of the Year. Saturn, or Kronos, is the quote-unquote god of the sports world, also known as Capricornus or Pan. Now, even though this depiction of LeBron James in the all black is from the year that he won Sportsman of the Year, I believe they reprinted this same photo when he decided that he was going to go back to Cleveland from Miami. So that shows you that there was some type of alchemical significance to this photo, or some type of hermetic significance to this photo. Always remember, the all black is for Saturn or Baal. We'll be covering LeBron James's association with Baal later in this epilogue. Now, brothers, this was something that I definitely wanted to cover in this video, especially pertaining to LeBron James, the craft, his Luciferianism, etc. Because there's this notion that LeBron James is quote-unquote pro-black. He's not pro-black. He's liberal black. There's a major difference. And I get on both demographics because they both get on my damn nerves. But there are real people who are so-called pro-black. And then you have what I call the pro-blackities. The pro-blackities are like morons. The pro-blacks are not that much better, but at least they're sincere. The pro-blackities are morons. They're normally people who just have an axe to grind in some way, shape, or form. They're mad at life or mad at the Bible, and they try to vacillate between being a liberal black and a pro-black. Then you have the liberal blacks. That's LeBron James. Anytime you see a so-called allegedly heterosexual black man trying to promote the empowerment or the over-empowerment of women, which really is or showing the celebration of the divine feminine, you know that he's not so-called pro-black. He's liberal black. Just pay very close attention to LeBron James and how he salutes Sue Bird and her quote-unquote wife, her lesbian wife, Megan Rapinoe. LeBron James writes, "Legends, thank you both for your greatness and the impact it's going to have on my daughter and many other kids around the world." Notice they're both dressed in all black. So what exactly do they have planned for young Zhuri James? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. We already know that she's being put through the Flora program, or the Goddess of Youth program. So as she gets older, we know how those things tend to develop. If it's anywhere near or anything like the Disney program, eventually those young females end up being what? Bisexual whores. All of them. Whether it's Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera, the list goes on and on. They all end up being the same thing. Mentally fractured bisexual whores. So we'll have to wait and see what occurs with LeBron's young daughter. Now here's LeBron James, of course, with Megan Rapinoe. He's more concerned about pushing his quote-unquote uninterrupted brand. He has his arm around her shoulder, once again showing that what? He's in agreement with lesbianism. He has no problem with it whatsoever. That's why I state there's nothing revolutionary about these quote-unquote pro-blackity sports dudes. There's nothing revolutionary about them. If he truly was a revolutionary, he would say that they're trying to promote homosexuality and lesbianism in the black community, in the so-called black community, to fracture the family. He's not going to say that because that will gain no co-signature from Nike, aka Nikkei, the witch coven that he's associated with, the asset coven that he's associated with, which of course is aligned to the mother goddess of victory. He has to bow to the divine feminine because Nike was founded based on the concept of the veneration of the divine feminine, or the female warrior goddess. Here's another shout out to quote-unquote Sue Bird. He says, "Happy birthday to one of my favorite people to know and see. Live, laugh, love." That's code for do what thou wilt. Another statement from Aleister Crowley is, "The law is love." Now let's read about some of LeBron James's associations, brothers, real quick. It says here, capping off a summer of brilliant PR moves, LeBron James has hired Rabbi Yeshayahu Yosef Pinto, a Hebrew-only speaking 37-year-old rabbi to the minor stars, who also may be a sketchy businessman who may also have been somewhat involved in the suspicious death of a wealthy Boulevard Hasid real estate maven. Apparently, James paid Pinto 6 figures for spiritual guidance during a merchandising meeting. This is sort of like the whole Amari Stoudemire thing, except without the charm and good intentions. Let's see what goes on here, brothers. I covered this in a previous video, and there's certainly a lot of rabbit holes going along with this portion of the LeBron James story. It says here, prominent non-Jews who have consulted with Pinto include New York City politician Michael Grimm and basketball player LeBron James. Pinto has said that he does not consider his help to be advice, saying instead that it's more of a blessing. Now, why did this so-called rabbi say this? He said that it's more of a blessing than advice because he's not giving you advice, he's giving you an order. He's giving you an order. It's like in the film The Godfather, when the Don said, I give you my blessing. What he really was saying was, I give you my permission. I give you my instruction. So let's keep in mind that allegedly LeBron James was introduced to this character, Yeshayahu Pinto, by Jay-Z. Yeshayahu Pinto is one of these Kabbalistic overlords involved in the substrata of the entertainment industry, the people that you don't really see, the people behind the curtain who tell most of these quote-unquote celebrities who to pray to, how to pray, and what to do. He's a quote-unquote Kabbalistic dignitary who eventually got incarcerated. But let's read on about LeBron James' involvement with him. Pinto has said that he does not consider his help to be advice, saying instead that it's more of a blessing. Politicians and businessmen who have visited Pinto in Israel include Justice Minister Yaakov Neiman, former Bank of Israel Governor Jacob Frenkel, and Israeli soccer star Guy Levy. Because of Pinto's influence, he has been called the rabbi to the business stars and was described by Yoel Hassan, a Kadima member of the Knesset, as having connections and influence with a number of people in Israeli politics. In other words, this guy was a major mover and shaker behind the scenes. All of these politicians, athletes, etc., they're dealing with the esoteric or the occultic aspect of these so-called religions per se. When they claim to be into Judaism, they're actually talking about the Kabbalah the vast majority of the time. According to an article in the Globe's Business Journal in June 2012, Forbes Israel named Pinto as one of the 10 wealthiest rabbis in Israel with a fortune of $75 million based on organizational holdings such as charitable activities and properties. In other words, this dude has shaken down prominent athletes and entertainers to a number or to a degree of $75 million. That's based on what they were able to quantify. That's not even going into other holdings that he might have. So, brothers, this is a photo of LeBron James with the quote-unquote rabbi. Look at LeBron James's face as he's looking at the rabbi. Does it look like he's happy to be there, brothers? Or does it look like he's being forced to be there? A lot of this occurred around the time that he was with the Miami Heat. So he most likely was embroiled in some shit that he couldn't get out of as he was venturing into some of the seedier aspects of the entertainment industry. Supposedly, this rabbi had connections with Madonna as well as Jay-Z, as I've already mentioned. And he would try to get these athletes in precarious positions where they could be embarrassed into giving him money. Basically, they were being extorted. But many of these prominent athletes, they go to these rabbis to quote-unquote learn about quote-unquote God. I say quote-unquote because it's not the God of the scriptures that these rabbis are teaching you about. They're teaching you about Baal. That's why they dress in all black. You understand that? They teach these athletes about Baal/Saturn. That's who they're worshiping, the horned god. That's why Antonio Brown, he talks about call God. And he has the image of the six-pointed star and the cube of Saturn on his ceiling. But what does he wear? He wears the goat rings. Right? So now, brothers, this is another image that I found. It was on the TV show Undisputed. And in many of the graphics that they use on Undisputed and First Take, whoever their creative director is certainly within the craft. Because that person always shows athletes throwing up the hand sign for illumination, which is the OK sign or the 666 hand sign over their eye, or throwing up the horned hand sign, always, or throwing up that index finger on their right hand, the quote-unquote finger of Jupiter. So these productions on television are Masonic / Luciferian when you understand the subtext or the context per se. But LeBron James is in the know. This was LeBron when he was in league with Jay-Z. Jay-Z was basically like his quote-unquote big brother per se. Like you heard Michael Jordan talk about how he was a quote-unquote big brother to Kobe. What they're talking about is the master-apprentice relationship in Masonry or Luciferianism. It's the job of the big brother to show the little brother the ropes, what he's going to have to do, what his job is. Remember back in the day, Kanye West had that song Big Brother, talking about Jay-Z? He was talking about within the craft. That's my big brother. That's the master. I'm the apprentice. And we see Kanye West there, to Jay-Z's right, to our left in the photo. We also see the quote-unquote golden curtains, showing that they've all been illuminated. Foxy Brown, something happened with her where she fell out of the picture. Also notice that they're all dressed in black. So we know what the deal is. It says Jay-Z, leader of the rap world. So when they talk about rap or hip hop, they're really referencing the music that's being used to bring a lot of the youth into the understanding of the craft. This is LeBron James. Notice that he's throwing up the diamond hand sign. But pay very close attention to how the photographer has situated the photo and how LeBron James has situated the photo. He has the diamond wrapped around the quote-unquote Jesus piece. I told you brothers a very long time ago that Jesus piece, quote-unquote, is not the Christ of the Bible. That is Tammuz or Heru or Adonis. You understand that? That's why they tend to have it in black. That's Baal or Saturn. That's all that is. LeBron James is a worshiper of the horned god and the mother goddess and their son, the divine hermaphrodite. Let me do a close-up here. You see that? You see how they did the photo? To make sure that the Jesus piece is right in the middle of the quote-unquote diamond that he threw up. Because it represents Heru proceeding forth from the mother goddess. Once again, the mother goddess is Sirius. She is the diamond in the sky. She gave birth to Heru. So that's Heru proceeding forth from the diamond. So now, brothers, this is an alchemical concept that I definitely want to touch on, starting with this photograph here of LeBron James. I always tell brothers, pay very close attention to what you're looking at. They speak to you without using words. There's a reason why there's a slogan that a picture speaks 1,000 words, because that's how they communicate. We see here that LeBron James is wearing the white, black, and red t-shirt. Of course, that's for Hermeticism or alchemy. It's also for the adherence to the concepts of the quote-unquote goat god Pan. He's a witch. Also notice that we see his reflection. What is that meant to symbolize? We see his reflection in the table. That symbolizes the Hermetic concept of as above, so below. Right? As above, so below. He also has his index finger on his forehead, showing that he's been enlightened. His third eye has been opened. His pineal gland has been opened. It says King James Revised. What does that mean? King James Revised, also written by this guy Lee Jenkins, who LeBron James seems to strictly be working through for whatever reason. Lee Jenkins has his ear, so Lee Jenkins most likely is in the know. It says in the subtext, I know I can get better, and I know I'm not satisfied. Once again, it says LeBron James Revised, meaning what? Improved, elevated, enlightened, illuminated. He's been transformed. Remember when he passed Kobe Bryant? He started mentioning alchemy, which basically is the transition from lead into gold, from Saturn into Heru. But just pay very close attention to this photo. It's as above, so below. The reflection. Now let's provide some context to that statement. So brothers, this is the concept that they were trying to convey in that Sports Illustrated cover of as above, so below. It's an alchemical or a hermetic concept. The bringing together of opposites. You see this wizard figure? The part of him that's above the reflection is the light aspect. His reflection is the darker aspect. It's the same concept that was propagated or put forth to the viewers in the film Us. I did a review on that film Us, showing that what they were basically trying to show the audience, what Jordan Peele was basically trying to show the audience, is that the characters of Adelaide and Red were interchangeable. They were the same person. It was a hermetic film, and she had to enter the underworld through the house of mirrors. It's part of the reflection. The reflection shows you your other self, your darker self, but it's the same you. As above, so below. But once again, when we look at this painting right here, or this picture right here, the image at the top is lighter. The image at the bottom is dark. That's this person's darker self. And also, of course, the Maltese cross is there as well. This is another photo of LeBron James with a similar theme. You see him smiling down at the quote-unquote NBA championship trophy. He's looking at his reflection. As above, so below. He's been enlightened. The NBA championship trophy actually is a golden orb. There was a commercial series that ABC started maybe like 10 years ago, around the time of the finals, where they would show all of the NBA players posing around the NBA trophy and looking at it like an idol. Remember that? That was to show you that that trophy was meant to be a representation of the quote-unquote divine orb, or the sun. So now, brothers, this is going to be the last photo that we'll be covering in this epilogue, or really in this series. This was LeBron James after his team was victorious in the NBA All-Star game a couple of Sundays ago. He started to throw up the horned hand sign to everyone in the crowd, because that is what these athletes are being used for now. They're being used to normalize the use of these hand signs. I also noticed that the NBA appeared to change the star that they utilize on the uniforms from a 5-pointed star to a 6-pointed star. The 6-pointed star is for Saturn. And as we can see, it was the blue team versus the red team. Saturnian principles. So most of these top players in the league are warlocks. Most of them are assets. Most of them are under the programming. It's been that way for a while. But now they're starting to come more out of the closet with it, to just show the world we're witches. That is what the film Harry Potter is about. That's what the Star Wars series was about. Trying to glorify witches and make them seem like they're figures that people should feel sorry for or pity. That they should be exalted as opposed to attacked. But what we're seeing right now in this society is what happens when the tenets of witchcraft are allowed to be put forth to the people, to be propagated to the people. They promote pansexuality, they promote animal worship, so on and so forth. Nature worship, as opposed to just living in accord with animals and nature. They're also going to push globalism and the forced unification of all people under the banner of the great serpent, or the great enlightener, the great teacher, or as Kobe Bryant called that entity his muse, per se. Kobe Bryant also, and a couple of those people of Lucifer